Welcome to the Summit Lab podcast. This is a place where I explore ideas about photography, creativity, family, and the long road of trying to build something meaningful. I'm Chris, and this is the Summit Lab. Last week, we talked about me getting a new camera and going out and just trying to keep it with me. And I wanted to talk this week about what's working and what's not. I've got my handy notes here. So let me just show you the camera real quick. So this is the little fella here, Sony A7C II with a 35 millimeter lens. I will say that the first thing is it's actually a little bit bigger than I thought it was going to be. The body it's about the same size as my Canon R8, which I'm filming with, so I can't show you. But there's a picture in the blog post, and it's pretty much the same size, but it's a little bit shorter, little bit shorter, but about the same width. What really makes the difference, though, is the lens. The lens is very much smaller than the other lenses that I have. Now, Canon does make some small lenses, but Sony has so many more that are relatively small for what they do. And that's what's really exciting. So size for one is working. I like it. I've carried the camera around all week and I don't really notice it. It's comfortable to carry and it's always on my side. Sharpness. The camera and the lens are tack sharp. Like, it's incredible how good the combo is. One thing that really surprised me, and I'm a nerd about this, but the shutter sound. The shutter sound is so good. My favorite shutter sound of all time, the Nikon D7100, which is an old camera. I used it for years. I think I kept using it purely to hear that shutter. But this one's got a nice sound too, and I love that. I love everything about the camera. Battery life. Battery life for sure is better than the Canon R8, like miles ahead. I had some struggles with it today. I tried to keep it on all day long. And obviously it didn't last. Towards the end of the day, it was dead. But the batteries are relatively small and I can carry one with me if I wanted, but the life of the battery, keeping the camera on at all times has a much longer duration than the Canon R8, which came to be very important. I'll talk about that in a bit. One-handed use. I can use this camera with one hand already. The placement of the dials and the buttons on the back make it super easy to just use one-handed. I've got shutter in the front, aperture in the back, and ISO at the top. I programmed this top dial for ISO. And so I can just literally do everything with one hand. There's a couple other buttons that I've programmed that make it easy to use as well, but it works really well for if I'm out walking the dog and I just want to take the camera and take a photo. So that is super awesome. The way it feels in the hand, so good. I was a little bit nervous about that. Like, I'm so accustomed to Canon and the way it feels in my hand. Like, I think that their ergonomics are second to none. Still my favorite, but this camera is not bad. I'm a sucker for like a good handle that you can get a grip on. Makes the cameras a little bit bigger, but you don't feel like you're gonna like drop it, and that's huge. Granted, this thing's on a rope, but it's working. Speaking of the rope works. It is very unintrusive. It's not like a huge strap that like cameras come with. and it just stays out of the way, which is nice. And it's the perfect length. You can adjust the length, but what's nice is I can just sling it over my shoulder and I can just pull the camera up and it's just right there at my eye. One of the nice things about the camera too is it has a viewfinder. A lot of smaller cameras these days do not have a viewfinder. You see a lot of photographers these days not even using a viewfinder to like look through and see the image. They just look at the screen, but I don't do that. I like to look through the viewfinder when I'm taking photos, and this one has one that actually works out very well. The flip screen is good. I've used the flip screen a couple times. It is nice, like if you're taking a low shot, to flip out the screen and make it to where you can look down at it, so you don't gotta get all prone on the ground. It flips out and it can go all around. So if you're like really low, you can angle it to however you want to be able to see and frame your shot with the flip screen, which is very nice. The look of it. The look of the camera is cool. It's kind of a retro look, which I like. I got the silver version. They also make one that's black, but let's see if you can see it here. Let's try to focus on my face. There we go. But it's a cool look. It's kind of a retro look, and it just looks stylish, which I can dig. It has a separate record button for video. I actually have not filmed any video on this thing yet, but I've heard it's really, really good for video. It's kind of a hybrid video and photo camera, which is awesome. But I haven't used video on it yet. I suspect I will at some point for sure. I just haven't gotten to do anything with that yet. I've been focused on the photography. It's very lightweight also. I will say that, like compared to the Canon with a big lens, even with a smaller lens, it just feels lighter. It's almost unnoticeable when I'm carrying it. Here's the things that I didn't like so much. I tried carrying it in a bag with me certain places. Like if I was going out, I thought, okay, I'll just keep it in the bag. I'll carry the bag with me. And if I want to take the camera out, I'll just take it out. But what I quickly realized is that if it's in the bag, it might as well not be with me. I don't take it out. There were multiple times where I saw a shot, but by the time I was like going for the bag to get it out, the moment was gone. And so I learned real quick that it's just better to keep it on the rope tied around me. There were some other times like carrying it in the bag when I was driving, and I shouldn't be doing this, but I saw some really cool shots like sitting in traffic, and I'm like, oh my gosh, where's the camera? But the camera's sitting in the bag, on the opposite side of the seat. And again, by the time I thought about even going to get it, the moment was gone. Carrying it around, I also I got to keep the lens cap off. Like it truly has to be at the ready. I was out walking. It rained a little bit here last week, and I was a little bit nervous about that. It's like the thing's weather resistant, but it's not fully weather sealed. And so I was a little bit nervous about keeping the lens cap off and keeping it in the rain. So I was keeping it under my shirt as I was out walking the dog. And there was a few moments where like a really cool bird would be sitting in a tree, and I'm like, oh, what a great moment. And by the time I got it out of my shirt, took the lens cap off, turned it on, again, the moment was gone. The moral of the story is I have to keep it at the ready. The one thing that I struggled with a lot was the autofocus. I heard a lot of really great things about how good the autofocus is on this camera, and I was really excited. But it struggled a lot in the beginning. Like if you set it up for like human mode, or animal mode, I would expect that it would just pick up humans and animals. But it wouldn't. There was moments where I was in my backyard, the kids were in the pool, and I was trying to take photos of them, the dog's running around, and I'm trying to like capture these moments, and it's focusing on like trees in the background where, I mean, like, it was very apparent that there was humans and stuff in the frame, and it's set to human mode and it wouldn't focus. And so I struggled with this a lot. Like, I kept on trying to change certain settings and figure out why it wasn't working. I was trying to change, like, you can change the zones where it focuses and things like that, and it just wasn't doing a good job. And finally I found a fix for it. And basically what you do is you set it up for like a spot within the frame. And so I set it to like one of the top corners. Like, if you have the rule of thirds, which is basically you put a tic-tac-toe board in the frame. You normally want your subjects to live on one of those intersections of the tic-tac-toe board. It just makes for stronger compositions. And so what I did is I set a single spot focus with continuous autofocus turned on. And what I would do is when I'd go to compose a shot, I would put the subject on wherever that focus spot was set. And if you half click the shutter, it locks focus. And then you can recompose and it'll track the focus with the subject that you originally focused on, which is very quick. I'm used to doing that anyways with the Canon. Like, normally you can focus on something and then reframe. And so that's what I ended up doing. And so that's the fix ultimately. And it works very, very well. So I'm happy with that. I was really bummed initially because I'm like, this sucks and I'm never going to get it. But anyways, that fixed it. So overall, I'm very happy. I love it. I still am a sucker for Canon. I'm a Canon guy through and through. I love everything about Canon except for the size and the lenses that they offer in a smaller form factor. I'm sure someday they'll get there and someday they'll make something that I'm going to love, but for now it's just not there. And so I'm going to continue to use my Canons for like bigger video projects and things like that. I'll probably even use them for like bigger photo things if I need to, but for everyday run and gun photography, I'm sticking with this Sony. I really like it. I'm still going to be challenging myself with this 35mm lens. I've learned that it's tough. 35mm is tough, and I'm writing a blog about what I'm going to do next week, but I'll give you a little insight here. I'm going to be, I need to focus on that. I need to focus on learning how to shoot 35mm. Over this week, I took probably 150 photos or so, not much, but some were good, some I liked, some I thought were strong photos, but there was a lot that were just kind of like blah. They weren't good. There might be a beautiful scene, but it just didn't come through in the camera. And so I struggled with that a bit. And what I quickly learned is, what I figured out really is that 35mm is almost like the human eye sees. And so it can kind of make it boring. And what I mean by that is, like, when you put a different lens on a camera, like if you put like a super wide angle lens or a telephoto lens or like a macro lens, these are all specialty lenses that give you a different perspective, which just inherently makes them interesting. It makes interesting photos right out of the box because it's not what your eye is used to seeing. With 35mm, that doesn't happen. It's just almost like what you see every day. And so when you take a photo and you don't compose it, or there's not like a clear subject, it's just not interesting. And so what I've learned this week is you need, number one, a clear subject. You have to have a subject that is like the focal point of the image. And then everything else in the image, like the background in the image, because it is kind of wide, so there's normally like a lot of background in it, that needs to help tell the story about that image. And I like the concept. I think it's very cool. I just need to learn to see that way. And so I'm getting better at it, but that's what I'm going to be working on this next week, is learning to see better in 35 millimeters. I'm actually really excited about it. I think it might take more than just 1 week because it's significantly different and I'm just not used to it, but I've been having fun with it. And once I learned what I just talked about, it started to make more sense and I started to be able to capture images better. So anyways, I wrote more about that. I'm going to be scheduling that for Tuesday. I've got a little bit more work I want to do on it and just collect my thoughts a little bit more before I put it out there. But I already know that the challenge for this next week, my new experiment, is going to be learning how to see in 35 millimeters. So as I go through this, I'm going to keep on experimenting and learning. And my goal right now is I'm going to try and be posting a blog on the website every Tuesday. And then I'm going to try and be posting the podcast on Sundays, both at 9 a.m. And the goal is to write on Tuesday, tell you what I'm going to be doing for the week, and then give my feedback on how things went and what I plan to do next on the Sunday podcast. So I appreciate everybody that's been watching so far. I'm kind of learning how to do this, so I know it's not the most exciting thing, but honestly, I'm having fun for me. So this is a way to keep me going and to keep me learning, keep me experimenting, keep me just into photography and getting back into that passion of what I truly want to do. So again, I thank you for all the people that have been listening and watching. If you guys got any feedback or anything, just leave a comment. It's on YouTube or even on the website, or I think you can even do it in Spotify. So anyways, thank you. This is the Summit Lab podcast, experiments in creativity, storytelling, and building a meaningful life. Thanks.